For centuries, Rome's mighty empire stretched across the known world, its legions dominating lands from the sun-scorched sands of Egypt to the windswept shores of Britannia. But all empires fall, and in 410 AD, Rome abandoned Britain, leaving behind a power vacuum, a fractured land plunged into chaos and conflict. What followed was an age of warlords, invaders, and a fierce struggle for survival. Who would rise to claim the land once ruled by Rome? How did the Britons, Romans, Saxons, and mysterious figures like King Arthur shape the destiny of an island at war with itself? And what legacy was forged in the crucible of this dark and bloody time? This is the untold story of Britain after Rome, a story of ambition, betrayal, and the fight for a kingdom. Welcome to After Rome, the War for Britain. After the Roman Empire withdrew from Britain in 410 CE, the power vacuum left behind sparked a long and complex series of events that could be described as a war for Britain. This period, spanning roughly from the 5th to the 11th century, saw the island embroiled in a struggle for dominance among various competing factions. Here's a detailed look at what happened. By the early 5th century, the Roman Empire was stretched thin due to internal decline and external invasions by barbarian tribes like the Goths and Vandals. The last Roman legions left Britain around 410 CE to defend the heart of the empire, leaving the local Romano-British population to fend for themselves. Without Roman protection, Britain became vulnerable to external threats and internal fragmentation. Germanic tribes, the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, began migrating to Britain in the 5th century. Initially invited as mercenaries to help defend against Picts and Irish raiders, these groups soon began to establish their own kingdoms. The Anglo-Saxons waged wars against the native Romano-British population, gradually taking over much of southern and eastern Britain. The native Britons, led by figures such as Ambrosius Aurelianus, resisted the Anglo-Saxon advance. This period gave rise to the legend of King Arthur, a possibly mythologized or semi-historical figure, believed to have led the Britons in battles like the Battle of Mount Badon, circa late 5th or early 6th century. Despite some victories, the Britons were eventually pushed westward into Wales, Cornwall, and Brittany in modern-day France. By the 7th century, the Anglo-Saxons had established several powerful kingdoms, collectively known as the Heptarchy, Northumbria, Mercia, East Anglia, Wessex, Kent, Sussex, and Essex. These kingdoms frequently fought each other for supremacy, with Mercia and later Wessex emerging as dominant powers. Starting in the late 8th century, Norse Viking raiders from Scandinavia began attacking Britain's coasts, plundering monasteries and settlements. By the 9th century, the Vikings established the Danelaw, a territory in northern and eastern England under Norse control. King Alfred the Great of Wessex, reigning from 871 to 899, successfully resisted Viking advances and is credited with uniting much of southern England against them. By the 10th century, the Anglo-Saxon kings, particularly Alfred's successors like Edward the Elder and Athelstan, began consolidating power, creating a unified English kingdom. Athelstan is often considered the first king of a united England, following his victory at the Battle of Brunanburh in 937. The war for Britain reached a turning point in 1066 with the Norman conquest. William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, defeated the Anglo-Saxon King Harold II at the Battle of Hastings. The Normans imposed a feudal system and fundamentally reshaped English culture, governance, and architecture, marking the end of Anglo-Saxon rule. Throughout this period, the struggle for Britain was not only a series of military conflicts, but also a clash of cultures, languages, and religions. The Romanized Britons, pagan Anglo-Saxons, Christian missionaries, and Norse settlers Each left their mark on the evolving identity of Britain. The War for Britain set the stage for the medieval Kingdom of England, the eventual unification of the British Isles, and the unique blend of cultures that define Britain to this day.